Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Let's start our video with the story straight from the 70s told by our OP's grandfather. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. A story from my late grandfather. This was told to me back in 2012 by my granddad. A story from when he was living in California in the 70s. The neighborhood where my grandpa lived wasn't the best part of town, and there were a gang of hooligans that had gotten together recently. One night, these rapscallions decided it'd be a good idea to go out and play some mailbox baseball, smashing all the boxes in the cul-de-sac. When my grandpa went to check the mail, he found the sad remnants of their mailbox. He was furious, but he did the rational thing and simply replaced it. Weeks passed, and those delinquents were at it again, demolishing everyone's pristine new mailboxes. Upon discovery of this, my grandfather was livid. He set out to stop these ruffians repeating their ill deeds. He gathered materials and, taking inspiration from Wile E. Coyote, he constructed a trap for these ne'er-do-wells. He filled the new mailbox with concrete, using a piece of 2x6 to leave a slot for letters to be placed. Once cured, he set his trap and waited. A month passed, and the punks were having their fun once more. My grandfather, hearing the smash of a neighbor's box, went to the window. Smash! 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 Crack! The goon with the bat screamed, the bat split in twain, and his wrist was shattered. They peeled out, speeding in the general direction of the hospital. The mailbox was knocked off its post, but otherwise undamaged. He went out, set the box back up on the post, and went to bed. Oddly enough, the mailboxes were left alone after that. Who would have guessed? And our next story. Trespasser demands police. I'm a private security officer on the graveyard shift. I mostly do bicycle patrol, which means I'm riding from client property to client property doing nightly checks as opposed to sitting a desk. One night, I ride up to one of my properties and see that there's a trespasser in the back corner of the parking lot. As I get closer, I can see it's an elderly guy with a walker, and he has his pants down. I politely inform him that he's trespassing on private property and needs to move. He replies that he's stuck and demands that I help him get his pants back on. His expression and tone make it pretty damn blatant that he's saying this because I'm a female officer, and corporate says we aren't allowed to provide medical assistance under any circumstances anyway. So I tell him no, I'm not allowed to do that. He completely loses his crap at being told no and starts screaming that I'd better help him or he's going to call the police on me. I tell him I'll be happy to involve the police and proceed to inform him that he's now officially excluded from the property. We're supposed to tell every trespasser that because it's legally binding notice of trespass, but we usually don't because going off on a multi-paragraph legal spiel is really annoying and tends to escalate situations. But he said he wanted police, and that means I'm going to do everything by the book and write a full report. Needless to say, he gets madder and madder as I go through all the legally required points for exclusion and then call the police, and pretty much goes off on a litany of completely uncreative insults that every security officer has heard 1,000 times already. I politely remind him that the police are on the way and that he'll likely be arrested for criminal trespass if he's still here when they arrive. Redoubled litany of insults, still no new ones. Sigh, whatever, have it your way. A police officer arrives, faster response than usual for a non-emergency call. It's an officer I've met before because this parking lot is one of her favorite spots to park her cruiser and do paperwork while patrolling this side of town. I point out the trespasser and state for the record that he's been formally excluded. He unironically demands that she arrest me for harassing him and goes off on her when she points out that I'm doing my job and he's trespassing. Note that the local police are generally very reluctant to actually arrest anyone just for trespassing. It's a lot of paperwork for what's ultimately a trivial misdemeanor offense. Legally speaking, if security has already issued an exclusion, the police can make an immediate arrest for criminal trespass without giving the person any further chance to leave. But they pretty much never do this. They'll give trespassers every opportunity to just pick up and leave quietly, which is fine with us because we don't want to do more paperwork either, but annoys our corporate masters who'd like to impress our clients by generating arrests for every single trespasser we catch. but this guy's stubborn enough to actually get arrested. And our last story. I'll take away your house and property. I had this cabin in the woods high up on the mountainside. When I bought the property, we were able to buy all the land near the cabin except for one parcel. The previous owner of the entire set of properties had a spoiled son who liked to get drunk and gamble away everything he earned. So we got all but one parcel. He managed to scrape up enough cash to get one parcel right below our cabin. His parcel was entirely surrounded by mine. There's a road going up and over the mountain that first passes by the cabin and continues on through his parcel, finally ending at a pond below that. When he decided to build on the parcel, I granted him an easement for power, water, and road access, which I had my lawyer write up because I was busy in the city. I was trying to be a good neighbor. I only went up on weekends, so I didn't have too many problems. We managed just fine for a few years. I didn't like him much, but we kept to ourselves, though he had a weird habit of sneering at me when he drove by in his girlfriend's car. The police came out a few times because he was fighting with his girlfriend, but he left me alone until one day during a particularly hot August. His girlfriends left him, but he won at the tracks. He bought a new truck. He liked his new truck. He drove his new truck past my cabin all weekend long, back and forth, nonstop. I was trying to get the last part of a rather difficult book finished and didn't need a Mario Andretti wannabe tearing up my peace of mind. But it was a private road, so any traffic problems had to be settled without the help of law enforcement. I had a sweet Cocker Spaniel named Mindy who stayed inside most of the time and only went outside to do her business. She was terrified of the big Dodge as he went up and down the mountain throwing gravel and mud everywhere. When I went outside to tell him to stop, he flipped me off, called me a few choice words, and threatened to run me over if I didn't get out of his way. I just shook my head and went inside, resolving to settle this problem with a lawyer instead of fighting him. I didn't want to actually kill him. He wasn't a very big guy in all mouth anyways. I figured it was the liquor talking. So I walked Mindy and kept her inside that weekend. I had to wear headphones to tune out his act while living in a cabin in the woods. He was pissed because I bought his father's land despite the fact that his father left him enough money to buy it several times over. He told my solicitor all this when he wrote up the easement. My lawyer informed me of this when I contacted him about the dangerous Dodge dirtbag. He continued driving up and down the mountain like a maniac for the next 4 weekends. He didn't stop even in the dead of night. He just went on and on and on, and I locked my doors hoping he wasn't so deranged that he'd set my cabin on fire. Fortunately, the second weekend, my lawyer told me to get video and pictures if possible, but not to confront him lest he cook up a song and dance for his own lawyer. So I set up a camera and a game by the corner of my house about 5 yards from the road. I have groceries delivered once a month to the cabin by the supermarket in town. The delivery person has instructions to leave the bags on the back porch. I didn't hear her knocking on the 5th weekend, so she let herself in and put the bags on the kitchen counter. While she was leaving, Mindy slipped outside to do her business but couldn't get back in. I didn't hear her barking, but I did hear her yelps when the drunk B-turd ran her over. So I limped home, brokenhearted and angry. I took Monday off and buried her beneath an old bay tree. On Tuesday, I took the footage and the game camera stills to the city and gave them to my lawyer. The pictures were on film, so it took a couple days to get them developed, but the VCR tape told the whole story. I asked my lawyer if I could sue him. He said I could, and we had plenty of evidence to cause him serious harm, but in the meantime, he'd still be living there and things would only escalate. At the time, dogs were considered property and didn't have anything in the way of rights. Still don't, which is a pity, but I wanted to fight. My lawyer knew it. My lawyer calmed me down and took out the lease agreement. It was a standard maintenance clause. There was also a stipulation in the easement that prohibited acts that might disturb the peace and harmony of the owner. It had a quit clause that automatically rescinded his easement should he persist in such acts for a month or more. My lawyer had sent him a letter to the effect the second week and didn't get a reply. The mail was registered and he had to sign for it in town at the post office. I had my lawyer serve him with a quit notice. In that state, a notice to quit an easement doesn't have the same level of difficulty as a notice to quit tenancy, which can drag out for 6 months or more. If you're in violation of an easement rights and are ordered to quit it by the owner, you can appeal, but in the interim, you must by law stay off the easement, and any utilities passing through can be cut off at the owner's pleasure, unless doing so can cause a life-threatening situation. But I didn't cut off his water and power right away. We didn't start proceedings on the suit until later. He continued to drive on the road after the order to quit, only faster and with more profanity. I got it all on tape. I told him so, and he said he didn't care. He said ugly Fs like me should just die. So I decided to stay away until the suit was initiated. So a month later, I had workers on the mountain put in a nice gate, solid construction, and 3 feet of concrete. I could open and close it with a garage door opener. I had barbed wire fence around the whole property, so the only way in and out was via the gate. I had a pedestrian gate put in beside the road and left that unlocked. It was about a quarter mile to the cabin and a half again that to his own place. Fairly long walk for a raging alcoholic. I got good pictures of him on the game camera that weekend. Dirtbag driving up to the gate in his big truck. Dirtbag trying to jimmy the lock. Dirtbag leaving and returning with a hacksaw to try to cut lock. Dirtbag leaving in frustration. Dirtbag returning with his truck. Dirtbag leaving again. Dirtbag ramming the gate uphill at full speed. Finally, Dirtbag through windshield laying on hood as smashed truck rolls back down the mountain. The gate didn't even bend. The truck sure did. He lived. Still not as ugly as me, but we can't get everything we want. 20 odd shots and more than enough proof to show to the judge to get a protection order, and since it was a small town, the same judge wasn't too pleasant with him when he took his last penny during the lawsuit. We even got his parcel in his flea-infested shack. We let him keep his busted-up Dodge. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.